Today's episode is called Letting Go to Move Forward. How to create space for new beginnings. How to create space for new beginnings. You can't become the person that you want to be when you're holding on to everything that comes through your life. I call this mental
Didn't even get to cross.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Momentum Monday. My name is Steve Holbrook, and for those of you that don't know me extremely well, or you're new to the podcast, or we haven't had the opportunity to meet in person, I just want to let you know that Momentum Monday podcast was a podcast that I started because I believe that it all comes back down to mindset. Everything in your life that you want to achieve comes back down to mindset. Two people could start at the same spot with the same resources in the same environment, and one person could significantly do better than the other person long term. Why? Mindset. And I realized that early on in my entrepreneurial career. So what I decided to do, because I know a lot of people are looking for this stuff, a lot of people are asking for mentorship and coaching around the mindset stuff. So what I decided to do was go ahead and put on a podcast. So if you're new to this podcast, welcome. If you've been around a while, welcome back. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it. So let's get into it. Today's episode is called Letting Go to Move Forward. How to create space for new beginnings. How to create space for new beginnings. You can't become the person that you want to be when you're holding on to everything that comes through your life. I call this mental hoarding. 4 years ago, I was sitting at my desk and I was looking at my life from a snapshot above, which I often do. And I wonder some days if I evaluate too much where I'm at. I had this conversation with a mentor of mine lately, and he said that he does the same thing. And, I probably have a in-depth dive of my life overall as a whole, probably on a weekly basis. And it can be a pretty deep dive, and it can get a little bit emotional. You can evoke, anger sometimes with where you're not where you want to be, definitely frustration, but absolute gratitude, and so on and so forth. I'm sitting at my desk looking at my life, and I felt stuck. I felt stuck in my mindset. I felt stuck in my relationship. I felt stuck in my business. I felt stuck in my influence over people in my business. And, I almost felt myself feeling sorry for myself. I almost felt what that feeling felt like. I can't remember a time in my life where I felt sorry for myself. And I almost caught myself feeling that way. And then I had a real meeting with myself. And I made a list of all the things in my life that I thought were holding me back, both mentally and physically. All the things, right? All the thoughts, all the people, all the habits, all the patterns, all the physical crap, all the clutter in my life, all of it. All of it. And thank God I had some mentors around me to help me see this stuff, because God knows that I did not have the capacity to see it, and I did not have the capacity to fix it. See, for most people, the challenge isn't in getting stuck. That's not the challenge. We all get stuck. The challenge is putting your ego aside and having a certain awareness that will allow you to realize that things have to change. Things have to change. So this podcast is from a breakthrough that I had in my life a few years ago that truly did change the trajectory of where my life was headed. So today's podcast, Letting Go to Move Forward, how to create space for new beginnings. So I'm going to give you 6 things, 6 ideas that you probably need to let go of. For some of you, you need to let go of these things immediately, and they'll have an instant impact on you in a positive way. Now, obviously, all 6 are not going to apply to you, but I bet one will. I bet one of these 6 is going to hit you hard. But you know what? As you're going through this podcast, I want you to think of all the people that you know in your life that these points apply to. And do them a favor. Share it with them. Send it to them. Because I'll tell you what, if you can unstuck yourself, if you can figure this stuff out, the game will change. 6 points. So here's 6 things that you probably need to let go of or change immediately. Number 1, your old identity. Who you used to be. The identity of your old career, the identity of your old relationship, who you used to be. You ever notice that most people always talk about the past and the good old days and who they used to be and a time where they were younger or wealthier or happier or more athletic or winning more championships or yada, yada, yada. Who you used to be has nothing to do with where you're going. Let go of it. The only person that really cares who you used to be is you. And I'm not sure why you still care. And that might sound direct. And that might sound harsh. And I'm sure there's some good things you can take from it. You know, there's some good things I can take from being a cook at Earl's at a restaurant for 9 years. I learned how to work hard. There's some good things I can take from university when I was a university student. I learned how to study. I learned how to cram for exams. There's some good things I can take, you know, from being a 20-year-old, right? Mistakes I made, things I learned. But none of those things define me. None of those things define me. I don't let that stuff stick to me. Number 2, a relationship or a friend. Some of you guys listening to this need to get rid of a relationship or a friend in your life. You know, every few years we have the opportunity to change one of the top 4 or 5 people that we hang around the most. Every couple of years we have that opportunity. Are you taking it? Are you upgrading your associations? Are your standards aligned with the people that you're hanging around with? Look, I understand that not all the goals of all the people that I hang around with, like my goals aren't the same as all the people I hang around with. I get that. But for the most part, the standards that we've set in our life for ourselves and our families are aligned. See, I don't care who you are to me. I don't care if you're a colleague, a friend, or even a family member. If your values don't align with mine at some level, we probably don't see each other a lot. But on the flip side, if our values do align and we are close, we're going to hang out a lot. Number 3, a grudge. Man, it's time to let go of a grudge. You think that you're holding on to this grudge and that by doing so, you're punishing the person that you're holding the grudge against and you're going to teach them a lesson and, you know, they'll never do that again because, you know, I have this grudge. You're only punishing yourself. You're only punishing yourself. And you keep replaying that story in your mind about how this person hurt you. Maybe it's time to tell yourself a new story, right? You're hanging on to something that somebody said 8 months ago. Get over it. Let it go. You're killing yourself. You're not teaching the other person a lesson. You're staying stuck. You're staying stuck. And if you want to get unstuck, you need to let go of the grudge that you had for yourself. Number 4, time to let go of one non-serving thought pattern about yourself. One non-serving thought pattern about yourself. We all have thought patterns that don't serve us, right? We tell ourselves, oh, I'm skinny, or I'm the skinny guy, or I'm slow, or I'm clumsy, or don't worry, I'm just awkward, or, you know, I'm overweight. Now, by the way, being overweight is a physical characteristic. It doesn't need to define you. That's not who you are, right? These things that we tell ourselves over and over again for 20 years, it's so subtle. But over 10, 15, 20-year period, we actually start to believe it, and it basically creates who we are. It builds our future. Because what we think about, how we see ourselves is eventually who we become. Number 5, physical clutter. It's called hoarding. But physical clutter. My wife is helping me with this. You need to let go of things that you've accumulated so that you can make space. You can make space for new things. And it might be a book or a notebook or a ward or clothes or desk drawer clutter. It's time to let go of things. How many books do we have on our bookshelves? Like, let me ask you a question, because I ask myself the same thing. How many books have I gone back and read 4, 5, 6 times? I can count on one hand. Why? Because I read a book, I'll take one thing from it and I'll move on to the next book. I'm looking for one thing from every book. Well, maybe we should thank the book for that one thing and give it away. right? Create space. Physical clutter. Minimalism is a real thing, guys. It's a real thing. It's about prioritizing and getting rid of things to bring in new things. And the sixth thing I want you to focus on. Listen to this one. This is my last point. Some of us need to get rid of the idea that we can't change. My sixth point is the idea that we can't change. When did that all of a sudden become a dominating thought pattern? That we can't change. Now we're 25, or now we're 30, or now we're 35, or now we're 65 years old, and we can't change. We are who we are. I'll tell you, when you're always focused on the person that you want to be, or when you're thinking about the business that you want to build, or the life that you want to live, and you're constantly filling your brain with images and thoughts of the people that have made the changes before you, like examples in your mind of people that have changed, when you're constantly replaying those pictures and you're always focusing on where you want to go, you can totally reinvent yourself. 12 months from now, you could be 100% different version of yourself. It's simple. Like every 3 days, if you grew by 1%, you're 100% different version of yourself in less than a year. Of course you can change. People do it all the time. But stop telling yourself you can't change. That's the reason why you can't change, because you're telling yourself you can't. Look, as I wrap up, if someone is being intentional with who they want to be and their goals and their values, then doing the appropriate things automatically flows from their mindset. And by letting go of things that don't serve you, this will help you be who you want to be. By letting go of things that don't serve you, this will help you be who you want to be. And when you are focusing on being who you want to be, all the skills and all the knowledge will follow from that. But if you're so cluttered, and if your mindset's crammed, you got all these things you're hanging on to, how are you ever going to create space to be the person that you want to be? Don't overthink it. It's time for a physical and a mental purge. I did it a few years ago. I continue to do it. I probably need to stop this podcast and go and do it right now again, because it feels good to do it. So I hope you guys can relate. I hope you guys got some value out of that. Look, if you enjoyed today's episode, go and give it a review, please. Go to iTunes, go to Spotify, wherever you're listening to. If you're watching this on YouTube, on the video version, right? Give it some love, share it. This is how we get the word out. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Thank you for all the messages, all the direct messages, all the sharing on stories. It goes a long way. I love you guys, and we'll see you soon.